It can be a community group, so
Yeah, or
a church, because they will make contributions.
just contributions. All that, it's all part of it. It can be from an individual, as Martin has rightly said, it's a matter.
Yeah.
It could be from a community that comes together and says that as a community, we're sending this amount of money. So even what we calculated is part of it now. So even if there's some that is not calculated, you can imagine that you can give a bit more, but we do know that it's now. So what I want to do is sort of go around and see information from everyone.
That's the government
That when you're looking at the problem we are facing,
at local level.
more specifically, we're looking at trying to bring about gender parity. How do you think that communities could be used as a possible?
What do you mean strengthen?
So I'll go around and try and get ideas from everyone. So I'll start with you, and then I'll go to the next one. I'll go around as succinctly as possible.
Used to be thinking about the policy work and thought each sector it's about what's the way you can
What can you offer?
yes, well what can you handle if I give you something? You know, so it's not just giving you these fantastic, spreadsheets when what you actually need is start taking receipts for, so start recording your sales on a day-to-day basis. How did that feel? Now then look at how much you've actually got from your business and how much then you need to borrow from the bank. Do you really need to borrow money from the bank? You're making enough money. So now you're making enough money because everyone's making enough money. Maybe between you could do something with that money to grow your business. And it's those types of things. So in a nutshell, it's about it's adding value by making sure you're involved on the ground with whoever you want to train with. It's not just about what you're doing. It's taking something that you've got to offer and keeping that on the back burner to hear that what people are saying they want fits with what you've got to offer.
It sounds like you said two things there in terms of, find out what their priorities but also what they can handle. So as you say, they might already have a certain, but you don't want to be patronising.
Exactly, and their
or you
levels
don't
are
want to
they're so different to ours in a different way. So someone who might not be financially literate with a piece of paper can do maths in their head really quickly, better than me. But what they can't do is a cash flow forecast.
That's obviously from the business perspective.
From the business
But
perspective.
from the wider societal issues, when you look at it, it just can't just simply focus on I have a knowledge to give, but also I have something to offer. I also be able to get something from the society at large. We must not even on the business context, we must not always see us as the donors, them as a recipient. That's where the problem is coming.
What they showed us was financial literacy and how it's still important to maintain what you've got in your head and do mental arithmetic and things like that. So that was really good to see.
Transparency. So you identify
So you would have to have a nice project document to the funder for those, but when it comes to the, but this is not what we want, we're looking for a project for those between this age group. So it's very important that you read the guidelines. There's a lot of persons who are the project will fail because they didn't read the guidelines of the government, right? Now in your application, you have to reflect on the funder's buzzwords because sometimes some of the answers are in the advertisement. Like you have some businesses here who may want to, well I come from the Newham area, East London. They'll tell you, well they want to, how would I say, they want to help the community. So in your project you can say well, how that project you're going to manage is going to help the community of Newham. Okay? Of course you have to answer all the questions. You have to be simple. You have to be clear and to the point, no jargons. Okay? And it's important that you use case studies as examples. For instance, budget all
Well, just a third if you're not an expert on
and if there's a cost aspect, you can say, well, if this project is something like a simple sewing project, you're hoping that these can sell some of
to
this
link
stuff and they can
people in the diaspora with
generate revenue of so many
different ways.
dollars or so many pounds.
Different ideas, how like you always make and funds, that's what you're saying. I think as you said, in terms of all that, I think a lot of it is obviously dependent on the organisation itself and how much capacity it has and what type of funding it's looking for. Is it unrestricted, is it restricted, and what type of funding you're looking for. And I think a lot of it goes back to the capacity that they have.
In order to make it
Which you use within a certain time. Say again. They need to know the world. Yes, we can see our international brands.
But if I'm making Skype calls to you and make it beneficial, that 1 hour, that means we're 4 or 5 hours or something else that someone else can like.
perhaps identifying appropriate medium to exchange knowledge.
Raising the organizations is good. Experience in African organizations to learn how they have done it. Mentoring again, this charity is trying to mentor, but it needs to be mentored as well. So, bonding with another charity of similar interest, learning from from their weaknesses and their strengths of the past would facilitate and make life easier, I think. Because at the moment, I think a lot of African charities are like islands. There's an effective body that brings them together and bonds them. So everyone is relearning the experience afresh. Yes, you could learn from another charity and then make
supporting people to do placements with organisations. And also thinking about, I know internet penetration is not that great in Ethiopia, but having some sort of hub where young people can connect to their peers on the continent virtually, because that's how the engagement can
remedy some of the challenges of
that cousin's child, they can just, you see what I mean? So it's more focused on people specific to the country.
So you can apply for funding. It's not fundraising from various donors.
There are also existing sponsoring different charities, international charities, some set up by Ethiopians, where you sponsor a child until they finish high school. So you help with living expenses, because a lot of children come from very deprived backgrounds, and school fees where it's involved, and clothing them and so on. So that's the kind of sponsorship for each person. And then, as you know, with other sponsorship projects, you get feedback as to how they're doing at school and so on. And to sponsor
Then you yourself have to go as time goes on, because you can ask me to do it and I'll keep the money for myself, which is going on.
Most people don't use the money. You see, so it's something that it shouldn't be you and me. It should be a public something. Yes. Please, it's very important. Because I give you the money and I'll tell you she's learning. By the time you come home to America.
There's something about keeping people local. I was really interested in the question that Lady said about changing people's culture and stuff like that. So maybe
keeping local but thinking global.
yeah. So that It's the two-way thing. So we're getting something and they're getting something as well. So someone who's highly IT literate might just be really good at maths, and until you came didn't know that they were IT literate. Now they can go in that direction, but they can teach you something that makes them in their local area. So
Thank you so much.
It's okay, but who created it? Have they been very sensitive to the wider political sensitivity? The politics, unfortunately, is highly polarized. In the case of Ethiopian issues, I'm aware of that. Therefore, for example, when the diaspora policy was conceived, it didn't actually take those issues into consideration.
No, they consulted a bit, I think, in London and in the States.
Precisely, yeah.
Amongst very many people.
It is not very engaging.
No, it's not.
To say the least. Yeah. I think that kind of issues. Personally, I have experience. We have a network here, knowledge exchange network. We usually run a conference actually every year here in London. I don't think many people know this. But the problem is each of us, there are so many initiatives, but they are not actually well organized. For example, I coordinate the diaspora initiative. We have a knowledge exchange network, what we call it here. We run a conference actually once a year. We have around 1,200 people in our network. Here in the UK alone, we have around 46 PhDs actively doing something. We supervise PhD students. I'll give you the cards, and what you were saying earlier makes sense to me. I'll give you what I have done earlier. But those type of issues, there is no way of actually just networking. Everything works in isolation.
Have you heard of an organisation called Abide?
Oh yeah, I work with Abide. We brought Dr. Twabich Bishop.
Yes.
We brought her twice actually as our keynote speaker in here.
Yeah. No, because she mentioned coming to London.
She must have mentioned the knowledge exchange network.
I think she did, yeah.
We invited her actually to November this year. We have invited her to
Do something else, which is not a priority, then the money is in there, you need to follow. But if you want to do that, then organizations outside can help. These are the areas where we're investing. Whether it's a scholarship you're going to help fund, whatever it is you are doing, it's in those priority areas. But the idea is for the government to move from, or the country to move from level 1 to level 2. And we need the engine of growth. Young lady, is there anything you'd like to add? Remittances is sending something back home. It doesn't need to be physical cash. It could be expertise, it could be skills, transfer, volunteering aside. So it's also a two-way street, because here we don't have the monopoly on skills. People back home sometimes have more skills than we give them credit to. So it's the kind of the linkage of two-way street where some of our skills, their skills together. But I hear what you're saying about the brain drain. That's why, for example, there needs to be a way of structuring these things. If, for example, you contribute to somebody's education, you want them to obviously spend some time in the country to give back what they've received, rather than just leave their skills in campus. Otherwise, we'll forever be educating people just for Western campus. So we need to put you go on.
One thing, we need to see the balance as well. Sometimes when we send people to back home, people from abroad, like the diaspora, they think they're the one who are the experts. There are skills there. It's good to appreciate and it's good to encourage that local skill as well.
But that's a very, very good point that needs to be put. We should never think that this place has a monopoly of expertise. Because sometimes I think what we do in here, the diaspora, sometimes think that because we've come and got some skills here, somehow the skills are better than the skills there. But sometimes the two-way thing, you find some skills in the diaspora in other continents that you can't find here. For example, they're able to make use of things that we just throw away. And there's so many things that other areas where, for example, they have the solutions we don't have. Even in nurturing children, the way the village plays a role. So I hear you that
we shouldn't send the wrong message that everything comes from abroad.
Yeah, and I think that's a very dangerous message to send. We need to keep on doing skills.
I would like to train some weekends and is our colleague and director as well. There is this mentality when you're doing the advocacy training, one of the really
That's not always the case.
at the diaspora office.
So that's it. They're all these guys, they see that they should be doing
Like how much money the diaspora will trust them with. And I think it's raised $2 million out of the $2 billion target in 4 years.
Less than 100.
You think the money back home.
Yeah, I think diaspora money has to be linked
They don't plan
to more grassroots.
even if
If their partner is capable of identifying, if you just want to be able to attend, it's just potentially be weighted in corruption. People don't know.
I want to show it. Just when you have to go, you can very traditional it's that keeping the identity with the global thing.
And that's the only way.
Because it's different, you know, people say going everywhere in the UK, it's all the same. You find the next day, you find this, you find this. It's the whole country to have
Okay, can I ask people to finish off now and then face the front and we'll start the plenary session and the main feedback.
have to read their guidelines.
just like
You can turn the chairs around.
Draw pathfinders back home. And the prime example was the Somali presidential candidate was offered a professorship.
Do you want to elaborate on the point
please.
you made?
Yeah, well, a Somali professor in the US was a candidate in the Somali election. And when he was lobbying and going around the country finding out what was going on, a town said to him that had a university said, look, come and settle here, retire here, we'll buy you the house. So they realised that there was expertise and experience and dynamism in the diaspora that could be brought permanently back.
There's a lot of different points from starting off with recycled goodwill, the potential that I think there's a movie called Pay It Forward or something, where if you find a promising student and help that student, there'll be some sort of expectation that student would help someone else, and that can be done or enforced legally through some sort of contract. There's also in the human dimension, there was a conversation regarding the brain drain and perhaps individuals bringing back the skills they've learned. Another aspect of that. Did I cover everything out?
That's great. Thank you
Yeah, I
very
mean,
much.
of course, there are more points, but obviously, when we do the document, all the points may be properly there, but this was a rushed.
First, we looked at what we're going to fund. Is it capital funding? Is it revenue funding, or is it just a one-off funding? Now, what is important when you're raising funds? If you're seeking funds from a donor, is to read that donor's guidelines. It's important that you read the guidelines because the criteria, if you do not meet the criteria, you can be put off. What has happened to a lot of applicants for fundraising? You do not read the guidelines. The criteria says this is we will offer funds to help girls aged 9 to 12. Sometimes we don't see, we're so quick because we found some money, we just, we'll offer money to some girls. We quickly prepare a lovely application just to find out that we have not succeeded because we did not read properly. It says 9 to 12. Now, again, when you're doing the application, it's important that you state exactly what your project is all about. You have to be clear, you have to be simple, you have to state your objective, and of course your outcomes. For instance, your application said that what would happen before and what is going to happen after. So you could tell the donor, okay, we'd have a need for this in the community for let's say just a simple project in Ethiopia, a sewing project for the mothers. We're hoping that at the end of the project, 20 mothers will be able to sew. And of course we can put a little cost and say, well, 20 mothers will be able, from that sewing, will be able to earn a living by selling the clothes that they sew somewhere. We can also use a simple project like a baking project. You can start selling little cakes, the mothers and girls together bake little cakes at home and they sell at the schools. You can say that at the end of the project, we are hoping that this money that the girls are making can later on even pay for their education, because these little projects can lead to bigger projects. The baking one can lead to a bakery by a group of young girls and their parents. So you have to be, I'm just saying, giving these examples because you have to be clear in your application to the funders. And our second group quickly had some good ideas about asking for sponsorship. And one of the areas that interested me was transparency in the fundraising. There's a concern for transparency in fundraising, and there's concern also for training the mothers. If we are applying for projects, let's apply for projects, again with different Ethiopia, apply for projects that the mothers can benefit from. Because if we do not educate the mothers, then it may not be that easy to get to the girls. Because remember, the mothers are the homeowners. They are the ones who pass down the education to the girls. So let us just seek some funding for the mothers in Ethiopia. Okay? And of course, we're talking about trust. Well, I just mentioned about transparency. Again, there's concern for trust when you're doing fundraising. Persons have to be trustworthy. Somebody said that sometimes it's good to send the money direct to the university. Like, for instance, you want to send some money to the university, or another person mentioned you could do it through the embassy. And you think that will hold more weight if you send the money from the embassy, because trust is very important.
Like the previous group, we mentioned about the two-dimensional issue. While we offer something, we always receive something. Don't consider that people there don't have something to offer. They also offer. So it's a two-dimensional. So we say also to find out what their priorities are before even start to do anything. Add value by making growth. It's from business point of view, we have to see that. Being sensitive to their culture, communication skills, that's what we consider. We consider diversity of the culture, so communication is a big issue here. Peer mentoring. It is the youth who are making the difference these days than the adults. So the peer-to-peer mentoring is very important. Inventory of skills first. We have to make sure that what skills have we got here to offer them. Building confidence, that's a soft skill, for example, non-verbal, and like IT, mobile phones, and so on. Identifying appropriate medium. That's you can do field studies, you can do media, you can do anything. So you have to identify that as well. Be aware of the rural-urban divide as well. What do the urban people need? What do the rural people need? Their needs are different. Packaging and so on. The second group also came with similar.
Just highlight a few, because of the time.
Yes. Problem-solving skills is one, and it's organizational skills, thinking independently and so on, opening dialogue about cultural taboos, high level of technicals. 2 words we said, we have just identified, we have qualified that 2 words, because we start simple then high. Keeping local and thinking global of that. It's also not one-dimensional, the same group. Like the other group, we say it's not one-dimensional. It's sharing of knowledge and skills, cascading knowledge, apprenticeships, internships, with radio, TV, internet, learning, all that is transferable skill. You can even help them to make their own radios. There is also one important here, cross-country skills. An example of Ethiopian and Kenyan cross-border. The people at the border have their own communication skills, their own way of living. So that's also important. One country will learn.
There's a lack of knowledge about actually what are the gaps and why isn't policy being implemented. We really need to understand that before coming up with solutions. So the suggestion was to have research done and to have a partnership with the government on the research, but the diaspora to be very much involved in that. So maybe approaching diaspora academics in the UK or in Europe or in America who would be able to do that, and might be able to do that at a reduced cost and with the government involvement. So that could be one really practical thing to better understand what the problem is. Then the second issue is about diaspora initiatives not being joined up. So lots of people are doing lots of different things and it's not really sort of coming together to make an impact. So the suggestion was to have more engagement, both within the diaspora, so diaspora organisations talking more to each other, and also engagement with the government, and that could be with the embassy here, for example. So people suggested having open events where the diaspora could come to the embassy and talk about single issues. So education could be one, but then it could be about other single issues, and hopefully having the focus on an issue would move it away from the politics and the sort of distrust of that there is between the diaspora and the government. The third